happening in our midst. I know I don't need to name it, as we're all living through it right now. There are factions of people who deny the existence of science and forgo the opportunity to apply logic and reason, claiming instead individual freedom. Their resistance to mask and vaccinate themselves often results in their unfortunate hospitalization and death, and is providing an incubator to a mutating virus. A process that, left to continue, may render our current vaccines useless. This storm of wills, from my perspective, is a failure of some of our societal members to understand the importance of balancing individual rights to other promises that we make to one another. In our society, sometimes these commitments are made in legally binding contracts, and in other cases, like religious communities like our own, our commitments are codified through covenants. Our individual rights can have a complicated relationship to our covenantal commitments. I follow a number of cyber activists on the social media platform TikTok. These activists monitor healthcare providers, largely nurses, who are actively promoting disinformation and refusing to vaccinate, even though they have daily patient contact. The activists seek to hold these professionals accountable to their own professional creeds and covenants. Truth be told, the activists themselves are healthcare providers, nurses, doctors, and pharmacists. I appreciate their efforts on a very personal level. As many of you know, my husband continues to heal from a life-altering brain hemorrhage. We went to the ER 3 days ago, and it took 5.5 hours to be evaluated by a physician. Even in our county, in our state, the hospitals were still overrun with COVID-19 patients experiencing respiratory distress due to the holiday weekend and the poor air quality. I was not allowed to wait with him in the waiting area and hadn't seen him until late last night when he was discharged. As if this wasn't stressful enough, other families in hospitals in other states would have had the added stress of worrying if the nurse treating their loved one was vaccinated or not. As an epidemiologist, this is maddening. However, as a human, I get the right to not accept vaccines and to exercise body autonomy. I believe that it is true that if I am a provider in these communities, I have the right to refuse a vaccine. And it is equally true that the exercising of that right must be contextualized among the responsibilities that I have to that community and my professional organizations or licensing boards. Hospitals and the workers therein have the responsibility to their community to not further endanger their patients. And we scientifically know now that these COVID vaccines are overwhelmingly capable of preventing hospitalization and death. We simply are not free from the consequences of holding our individual rights above our responsibilities to the community. Simply put, we must accept accountability from the communities that we are members of when exercising rights that are at odds with the agreements that we've made. We have to understand that violating covenantal commitments isn't without consequences. This insistence of individual rights while refusing to balance them against the community responsibilities is something that we as a covenantal faith experience ourselves. For a very long time, our faith movement has attempted to stress the importance of the we above the me. One of our recent religious ancestors, the Reverend James Luther Adams, insisted that religious convictions were more than sets of individual beliefs, but were rather also blueprints for how collectives of individuals could engage themselves into action. I see this as the building of the we through the me. Even to this day, we have a number of people in our association that feel our work on trans and racial allyship is, in their words, political correctness run amok. However, I simply see our faith movement's activity in combating the various forms of oppression to be a recognition that harming one another with our words, actions, or inactions is just simply unacceptable. Even if it means I must diminish one of my individual rights. The we becomes more important than the me. To make it make sense further, I need to return to my Christian upbringing and a song that we often sang at religious retreats. It's a song whose lyrics echo the teachings of James Luther Adams and his insistence that institutional behavior and social programming born out of our congregations are in fact indicative of the religious convictions of the individuals within our community. The song goes like this. We will work with each other, we will work side by side. We will work with each other, we will work side by side. And we'll guard each one's dignity and save each one's pride. And they'll know we are UUs by our love. By our love, yes, they'll know we are UUs by our love.